Hi guys, it's Allie from Just a Primary Girl, and today I wanted to talk to you all about guided reading word work. I've had a lot of people ask me how I get my 20 minutes in, what I do, because they're always going over their time limit for guided reading groups. I used to always go over my guided reading time, but I don't anymore. I do stick to a very tight schedule, and I've already gone over sight words, and today I'm going to go over work on words. So just about a 3 or 4 minute time period that you spend with your students building words that are on their current level. And the way that I do that is that I have used many books to research the levels of learners that students are on and what words they're working on. And I have created a foolproof list of words per group, starting with either guided reading level or DRA of a 1 to a J18. So that's in both guided reading and DRA. That way you know exactly what words to work on for your students in their instructional level. And so I keep all of my materials organized in a binder, and it looks like this. And I love having these as organization. It's really quick for me when I need to pop to a specific section. And so I wanted to show you a closer look of how that word work works. And so I do have a blog post that talks all about my magnetic boards and what I use them for in my classroom. I use my magnetic boards for everything. I use them during work on words in guided reading. I use them for work on words during center time. Some of my students use them for individual practice depending on their need. And so this is the board that I use in my classroom. I got it from Steps to Literacy, and they were $40 for 6 of them. They're a double-sided magnetic board. You can also get boards on Amazon, which I have used in my classroom as well, and I also use them here at home. And that board looks like this. And so you are able to get this board for a little bit cheaper on Amazon. And the other great thing about Amazon is, I don't know about you, but I am instant gratification. If I order something, I want it the next day. I don't want to have to wait 2 to 3 weeks. The Steps to Literacy boards, I did have to wait 2 to 3 weeks, but these ones, I had them the next day using my Prime membership. I also got the magnetic letters from Amazon as well. They were $7.99, I think, for a box, and the whole box is enough to fill up this entire magnetic board with a few letters left over. So that was really key. And I also use on my boards, I have a return sheet that's in my store that the students very easily know exactly where to put their letters. This organizational tool has become huge. It's my #1 bestseller in my store because it keeps kindergarten students, first grade, second grade, third grade students organized. They know where the letters are. You're not digging for letters. That was a key part of my guided reading word work time, was that I had students spending so much time looking for letters that either I was grabbing the letters and handing them to them, which defeats the purpose of seeing what they know and that they're working on their independent level. I was handing them the letters, and then at the end, I was putting them back for them. So there was no accountability. There was nothing that was making this a student-owned activity. It became me running word work, and that's not the purpose. The purpose is for your students to be working independently on their level by themselves, independently. And so this return sheet has saved me a ton of time getting my kids organized. And they also use it during work on words in their own independent stations. That way they are able to use the same exact thing. It's very consistent across the board. So that's #1. Magnetic letters on a magnetic board with a return sheet really saves you time. Okay, the next thing that I use is in my binder, so let me flip this around and show you inside of my binder. Okay, so here is the inside of my binder, and the very first part of my lessons are sight words. I've already gone over this in another Facebook Live. If you would like to see it, you can go to justaprimarygirl.com, and there is a blog post that talks all about my sight words and the editable tracking system that I use. And so the next thing that I do is, as soon as they are done with their sight words, we go over to our word work plans. And when I have my students come to the table, the very first thing they do is they get these boards out. They get a dry erase marker, an eraser, their divider with their reading strategies, and then they have a seat. And so for me, I have in this pack, I have the level at the top in both guided reading and in DRA so that there's no guesswork into what level you need to be at. And I work at the students' instructional level because you do want to give them a challenge. If you have students that are a little bit lower and they're in these lower groups, sometimes I let them start with what's easiest for them to build up some confidence. So let's go to a level that is around mid-level first grade, almost toward the end of the year. And what I do with my students is I let you know what letters you're going to need to build all of these words. And that's key because I'll tell the students, okay, friends, I need you to get out B-I-T-E-K-S. And so my students will get all of their words and their letters out. They'll put them down in front of them. And the other thing that I stress with my students is to make sure that they're putting them in a straight row. And the reason that I do that is when they're all jumbled up, it's a mess. My kids just can't focus. It's a struggle for them. So I tell them, make sure that they're in a straight row like this. And the reason that I put them, a lot of times I have friends that will ask me, teachers that will ask me, why do you have B-I-T-E? Why not mix it up so that the students, when they're starting to put their letters down, why they'll say, you know, I see the word bike. They'll say, well, I don't want them to pick out that word right from the jump. I do. I want to see if they're noticing that what they're doing is building words. And so I don't tell them what the word is, but I like to see, do any of my kids right off the bat see the word bike? If they do, awesome. That means that they are really taking ownership of this lesson and they're building words on their own independently. That's what we want. Okay. So I keep this little sticky note at the top so that I know, now I have a binder for each group of kids. So I have 5 groups, I have 5 binders. I keep a sticky note at the top so that when I flip, I can flip right to the page and I don't have to flip around. I also keep a sticky note right here so that I know where I'm at, where I left off the last time I was with them. If I want to repeat, I might write the date and a note, or I shift it right down to the next line. So then my 2 minutes are very, very detailed. They're very zoomed in. It's exactly what we need to be doing. I start with bit. Okay, friends, spell the word bit. And I might even sound it out if that's what my group might need. Your students might not need that. They might be able to just go right in and manipulate and say bit. And then I say, okay, friends, great job. I check each friend. If a friend is stuck, I might help them sound it out. And then I say, okay, friends, remember we've been practicing that long I or that long E or that short E or whatever it is. And I'll say, okay, friends, from bit to bite. Friends, go ahead and show me from bit to bite. And so they'll come over, they'll put in that silent E. And then I'll say, okay, friends, from bite to kite. Now, if it's my lower level friends, I might say, change the beginning sound from bit to kite. But in this group, in this G12 group, I'm going to let them try to do it themselves. I want to see if they're getting those sounds at the beginning because that's an early reading lesson. So we'll change from bite to kite. And as you can see, there's only 3 more. And I'll say, okay, from kite to kit. And my friends will go ahead and change it. And then from kit to sit. And then I'll say, all right, my friends, your last one is from sit to sight. And so they'll put that E in. And then a lot of times my kids get really excited and they'll say, Mrs. Hacker, I wonder if I can make a word that's not on here. And I'll say, go for it. What do you see? And so a lot of times they'll flip things around and, you know, sometimes my friends will flip this and they'll say, oh, well, this could have been spit if that was a P and it was turned, you know, the other way. And that's fine. I let them do that. And then the next thing I say is, all right, friends, great job. Put your letters back. And then my kids very quickly are able to come and put these letters right back where they belong. And there's my 2-minute, 3-minute lesson on word work. Those kids are able to get clear-cut directions on their level. They're working on that silent E, that long I sound, reinforcing that short sound as well. And it goes through, it also tells you what you're going to be working on. So this is adding and deleting that silent E. This is going to be doing some blend work. And then as you go through, it even has, if you want to do analogy charts with them so that you can go through and make a list or a chart. It also gives you sound boxes. So if you want to do sound boxes at the top of maybe a guided reading journal that you might have for your student, it gives you the sound boxes, the words that you're going to use in there, okay? And then it also will give you an idea of something you can use if you're doing guided writing in your groups as well, possibly the second day. So it lets you know that at this level G12 that students should be writing about 4 sentences about the beginning, middle, and end. And it even breaks it down further as to what those sentences should be. Okay. Beth, yes, I don't work with every group every single day. I work with my lowest group every single day. So if my struggling group, I will see them every single day, and then I tier them. So I meet with 2 groups every day. One group is always my lowest group, usually my kids that are not on grade level. I will meet with them every single day. Now, my other groups, my 1 time a week, I might spread that out 3 times with my next lowest, 2 times with my next lowest after that. There are times that during my independent reading group, I might pull my lowest group of kids, because let's face it, during independent reading time, those kids aren't independently reading anyway. So I can pull those students up for a reading group during independent reading and then open up that that guided reading time to another group that I might not be able to see as often. So one of your higher groups that are above grade level. So that is how I work guided reading groups in my room with word work. This binder, it loosely follows Jan Richardson's Next Step to Guided Reading. I've read that book several times. I have a master's degree in reading. I have gone through with my years of experience teaching reading and going through all of the guided reading books that we use on those levels, and I've pulled and made lists for you. I also have a work on words flippable of this exact activity that your students can do during work on words. So they're reinforcing not only the words in group with you, but also in group by themselves. This is on Teachers Pay Teachers. So if you go to Just a Primary Girl, teacherspayteachers.com, Just a Primary Girl, and you type in understand, or if you just go to Teachers Pay Teachers and you type in Understanding Guided Reading, that is where you can find it. It should be the very first thing that pops up, and it will give you that work on words. The other thing that it also gives you included with this is it gives you the different lesson plans that I use throughout my guided reading stories. So let me show you what else is on there. So it also includes the guided reading lesson plans. It comes with a level DRA 616 or GRL D through I. So it gives you that guided reading lesson plan template. It's very clean. It tells you exactly what you're going to do. So my sight words that I review, this is based off of this portion that I have already gone over. Then my introduction of my book, here's our strategy, here's my teaching points, and then this down here, this word study, this I always write in here in case you're a friend that can't use this work on words, you can fill it in, or I put C binder, and then if I have a substitute, they just go right in there and they use that binder, they look at the sticky note, and away they go. The lesson plan also includes levels 1 through 4, and then it also includes up through a J18 as well, that transitional reading level. Okay, so in my store I have placed, and I'm going to show you in my store where you can find it. I have placed it on sale for 30% off today, as I know that some of you are home on spring break, or you are just praying to goodness that spring break is coming soon. So let me show you where you can find this in my store. So if you are on teacherspayteachers.com, let me flip this camera. So if you are on teacherspayteachers.com and you just go to the top here and you put understanding, whoops, need an I in there, understanding guided reading. It's hard typing with one hand. Understanding guided reading. Right at the top of the search, here it is, understanding guided reading. It's got a lot of great ratings and a lot of great feedback in there. It gives you, if you look up the preview, it will give you some detailed pictures of what the other things are that you can expect. You can also grab the guided reading bundle if you would like. My store is Just a Primary Girl, and me on justaprimarygirl.com. I do have a blog post that also has some of this information in it as well, but this has really streamlined my instruction. It gets my kids in and out in that 20 minutes. The word work takes up 3 minutes of my day, so I don't have time for my kids to be fishing around for words, for letters, for magnetic letters, dry erase boards. I don't have time for that. So my students know the very first group that comes up into my classroom for guided reading, they grab all the materials that they will need, and when they leave it out so that the next group doesn't even have to bother getting their things. So I start with one of my higher groups first, because your lower group, those kids are the ones that are kind of straggling in and dragging their feet and taking their time. So my higher group will go first, get everything out, laid out. So that way when my youngest kids, my lower kids, my striving kids, when they come to sit at the table, everything's already out for them. Their pencils are out, their dry erase markers are out, their reading strategy cards are out. Everything is already out, ready to go for them. All they have to do is sit down and we get started right away. I'm Allie from Just a Primary Girl. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, justaprimarygirl@yahoo.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Just a Primary Girl, and you can find my Teachers Pay Teachers store at Just a Primary Girl. I will put in the comments the link for this Work on Words binder for guided reading. I hope that it helps you to streamline your instruction and to get those kids working independently. Have a great day.